Okay, sweet. Oh my God, it's been like 8 years. How are you?
It has. It's been way too long. I'm good. How are
I know.
you?
Good. Just yesterday was my like final EAOS in the Navy, so I'm a free woman today.
Woo! Freedom!
Yeah.
Go get your hair did. Go get your nails done. Wear
I
whatever crazy
know.
makeup you want.
I have a hairstylist friend. I was thinking about getting like the tinsel in my hair just because I can. I got blue nails, like I'm ready to go.
Look at you! I remember when I got
Yeah.
out, the first thing I did was like get bright red fake nails and had my hair all did fancy. And I was like, I am a free woman now. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about wearing this stuff anymore.
I know. I told my boyfriend, I was like, I can get a tattoo on my face. Like, not like I ever would, but I was like, I can now.
That would be that would shock me because I know how you are, and to see that, I'd be like, oh yeah, Kristen's really going out there.
Yeah, I'm scared to get like another piercing, let alone a whole tattoo. So that's not going to
If
happen.
you do, get it hidden somewhere to where only you see it. When I was in, I got mine on my lower back, so the only time I see it is if I go swimming or I get out of the shower. I'm like, oh yeah, I still have a tattoo. I forgot.
Yeah, I'd want something that was like, I guess easy to see, but also easy to hide. Because like I'd spend good money on it, you know. So I want to at least be able to see it sometimes. But
Have you made chief?
oh
Going from that
yeah,
little
girl.
AC student to being a chief and getting out and doing your photography thing. I love your pictures, by the way. I look at them and
Oh,
I'm like,
thank you.
where was she when I got married? I needed her.
Yeah, what year did you guys get married?
2014, we got married. Yeah, can't think of her other name, but one of them, her last name changed, but she was married. She was a yeoman at the barracks.
I don't remember. Yeah, you had like a way different like group of friends than I did. Somehow we still like hung out, but your other friends I didn't know.
No, well, part of it too is because I was the broke dick, so I had to be put on the first level.
hmm
Um, but other than that, it was weird switching over though from Nazi to staff side. That was a big
Yeah.
change because I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? And they're like, you just come to work. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. So used to being in like recruit type mode and then you're just thrown into a job.
Yeah, it was definitely a big culture shock, but it worked out. We're here in Jax now. We're doing a lot better. Finally got additional benefits from the VA to finish my master's degree, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you had your bachelor's when you joined, right?
I had my associates and I was working on my
Okay.
bachelor's. And then when I got
Okay.
out, I qualified for the full post 9/11 and was
hmm
able to pay for my whole bachelor's and my 2 semesters of my master's program.
Nice. So then you just got approval to continue with the master's.
Yeah, because they have a program with Chapter 31, because nobody ever talks about Chapter 31 with Voc Rehab,
hmm
and it's called Veterans Readiness Employment, where they help you based on your disability, help you find a job, help you finish paying for school, and you can prove that, hey, this is what uh, my job is going to do, and this is how it's going to benefit me. And I just went through my interview yesterday, and they pretty much go over your disabilities, how it affects you in your job and your day to day life, and they kind of see if you qualify. And if you qualify, they will either fund the rest of your program, and if she's still checking on it for me, but she's going to see if they can refund me since I paid out of pocket since 2021 till now. So that's almost like
Oh.
$5,000 or $6,000 coming back to me because I went and just did my homework. And how I found out was my buddy, she was an officer at an AS Jax, and I ran into her and she's like, before you use any of your benefits, use Chapter 31. I was like, well, I already used my post 9/11. She's like, well, go back and ask them and see if you qualify. And that way they cover it. You literally can't do half your jobs because of your disability. And I was like, wow. And all it was, here's your disabilities. How does it affect you? Oh, okay. Well, you passed. So I just need a transcript, 3 job postings that show that they need that degree, and we'll cover you. And I'm like, that was pretty easy compared to the VA portion of trying to get qualified for anything.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like there's like thousands of different resources that people can go to to help veterans, and no one knows about it except like the basics, like your GI Bill, and that's it.
I was going into my master's in healthcare administration because there's so many people who are so misinformed. They don't realize how many benefits they're missing out on. I've had
Yeah.
friends even here in the state of Florida. If you are 10% or more, you get a homestead exemption on your taxes. That means you don't have to pay like the ridiculous 5 or 6 thousand. It's like reduced even lower. And if you're 100% permanent in total, it's here in the state of Texas, from what I know, you don't pay any property taxes at all, which is a
I think
huge
Nevada
thing.
is the same.
Yeah, and especially with inflation right now. I I would literally be paying a $2,000 mortgage, but because of being 100% permanent in total, I my mortgage is like maybe like 1,500 a month,
Wow, that's awesome.
and that's why I try to
Okay, so
educate other veterans. But go ahead.
yeah, let's go back to like for the people other than me that don't know you, if you want to like give a quick introduction, like why you joined the Navy, and then, what happened in boot camp to get you to your unique situation today.
It's a fun story, but I'm Dulcie Burrow. I am medically retired. I was in the Navy for 2.5 years. A lot of people may not see that as a lot of time, but I was a Captain America experiment gone wrong. And in boot camp, I ended up hurting my foot, rolling it really bad, but sucked it up because I didn't want to be ASMO'd, which is held back to the other divisions and prolong my graduation. So I just sucked it up, waited till I got to training command, and was doing better, healed up, did great. Ended up rolling my ankle again in one of our runnings and went to go to medical to try to get it handled. And the doctor apparently was like, "Hey, you need surgery right away. Let's get you in for surgery." I was about to be classed up. I was rated as a ABE, so grease monkey is what a lot of people call them. And I was really excited. I mean, it was going to be a lot of grunt work, but I was excited to go. I wanted to try to get orders to Japan. But in order to do that, I had to go through with the surgery, went through it, and ended up with a fractured ankle during surgery. And they had to remove the screw, put it in a different angle, and it limited my mobility to where I couldn't walk. I was not able to be helpful in the needs of the Navy, but I was trying my hardest, thought maybe I could get re-rated, and got moved over to staff side. Tried physical therapy, nothing was helping, and developed really bad migraines, and told him, I just want to be able to finish my career in the Navy, my 4 years, and be done and try to contribute as much as I can. But my doctor got tired of how I was being mistreated and med board me out, and I've been out since 2015 and working on my degree and trying to be an advocate for veterans and try to get myself in the healthcare system to help other patients.
Yeah, I remember I remember that day in boot camp too, like so clearly. And for the listeners, if we didn't say it already, we were in boot camp together, and I remember just like being in the front of the line, like marching, and then we just hear people screaming at us to stop, and you're like on the ground like in a ditch. we're all like, what happened?
It's one of those
And
flukes because I was overthinking how we're marching, and it's literally a dumb mistake, and I overthought it and twisted my ankle correctly, rolled it, however, and I was just like, man, not very happy about it, and didn't want to be looked at as a malinger, so I just try to do the best I can to suck it up and move on, because you don't want to be stuck in boot camp. It's one of the, I mean, yeah, you get 3 square meals a day, but you don't want to be
it's
stuck there.
miserable. Yeah, it's not a fun place. No, not a positive environment to be in.
I will say though, compared to everyone else though, I get a lot of weird looks when I tell them we went to like rookie heaven almost every weekend because of
Yeah.
Senior Chief Pena. So it was pretty funny. And they're like, wait, you got to go to rookie heaven? How many phone calls did you get? I was like, our chief at the time let us get a phone call almost every weekend.
Yeah, I did not realize how good we had it, but I remember at the end of boot camp, I was like, that wasn't that hard. And I talked to my family like at least once a week, and we were very lucky.
And I was expecting it to be like really physical, push-ups, everything. Like it's compared to what I've heard back, like how my dad went through, my brother went through, and hearing what I was like, really? All we were told is if we're tired, stand on the bulkhead. Oh, if you're tired. And we'd even find some girls who'd be sleeping in the bathroom because they were just bored out of their mind.
Once like you knew that you were getting out of the Navy, you're going to be like medically or at least med boarded. What is that when you started your like VA disability claim, or did you learn about that later? Like how did that process start?
I actually got informed by PSD, the process of what a med board, and then talking with the VA rep and what exactly they would need and how to make their decision. And what helped me out was my first class MA1 Meehan. He helped me write a statement. He said if you write a statement to the VA, they may find it more personal and relatable as to what led to your issues and how it has affected you, and that you really wanted to pursue your career in the Navy, but because of your disability now, you're unable to be a fit. And by writing that letter, I was able to, I guess, convince someone to give me 100%. And you literally have to make sure you have your documentation in a row. And the one thing that I made sure too was I talked to an Army vet when I got out, and he said, "Hey, do you have a reevaluation?" And I was like, "A reevaluation?" I was like, "I'm 100%, I'm good." He goes, "No, if you don't check with someone that you have a reevaluation, at any point in time, they can take your disability rating away." And I was like, "What?" I was never told that. So I went and saw a veteran advocate in downtown Pensacola, and he called the VA because I couldn't get a hold of anyone. He called them and they said, "Oh, yeah, she has a reevaluation in 5 years." And so in the next 5 years, I went to all my doctor's appointments, got all my medical records ready. So when I went to go for my reevaluation, no one called me from the VA. No one scheduled a reevaluation. I had to do it. And once I did, they got me in. It was like maybe 5 minutes I was there. They said, "Do you still have your issues?" "Yeah." "Okay, you're good." And I'm like, "Do you need anything else?" "Nope, we just need to make sure you're still having issues." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So for the med board process, you pretty much see different types of doctors, whether it's mental health, a primary doctor, or someone who specializes in different stuff. They will each write down exactly what's going on, and do not be the strong person, say, "Oh yeah, I have this." No, if you're hurting, show them. If you can barely bend, show them. Don't try to be sugarcoating it, because every little detail counts, because the VA's job is to see, are you still operable as a human being? And if you show even the little, like my arm, I have nerve damage, if I have this, they'll write it down and they will give you maybe 10, 10, 10, 30, 50. The biggest ones are migraines and um, adjustment disorder, which a lot of us end up having. For those who've seen combat, for those who've been mistreated or suffer from sexual abuse or physical abuse, those are all stuff that they need to take into account and they need to get you help for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like you just said, they want to be like macho and not claim problems or like, I don't know. I think actually, I'll let you say what you think about this instead of me. What would you say to someone if they're starting to retire or separate and they need to start their VA process and they say, like, oh, I don't want to pursue a disability claim because I don't want to like take advantage of the system?
For that, it's not taking advantage of the system. There's a difference between abusing the system and using what is guaranteed to you. There are those who say they don't have an issue and falsify and try to get the 100%. Like there was a guy who was claiming 100%, said he couldn't lift, he couldn't move, he had wheelchair, everything. And then someone caught him on his Instagram or Facebook lifting 250, and they call it falsifying, and pretty much you're lying. And by doing that, then that makes other people scared to apply for benefits. But if you truly need those benefits and you know that you're not the type to go to a primary care office, or if you're not able to get health insurance on your own, the VA is there to give you the health care that you need. They even provide dental services at some areas. And with how healthcare is right now and inflation, you want to take advantage of it. Those are the services that you earned while you're serving. And you need to make sure that you get your voice heard, because there are providers in the VA system who are just there to collect a paycheck. And if you feel like you're
Yep.
not comfortable with that provider, you have the authority to request to see a different one. And if you're not able to get scheduled right away, you have Veterans Choice. Veterans Choice allows you to pick the provider you want to see and get the health services, and they pay for it with the VA. And one that I didn't realize, and I've helped a lot of female veterans, was they got pregnant and they're like, how do I go about getting covered for my pregnancy and my birth? Well, the VA has a women's program that pretty much covers all of your visits and your, if you need a C-section, if you have a vaginal birth, they cover all that. But nobody educates us when we're getting out on these stuff. So I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that there are ways to help you. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be a pride thing. It might be I don't want anybody knowing what's going on with me, but when you actually get someone to help get in there and help you, you start feeling better. And it's not like you have to do it right away, but if you don't get started on the process, it's going to take so much longer to get in.
Yeah. People are like so concerned about not wanting to inconvenience people, like service members when they're getting out. And it's like, that's their job, is to take care of your medical needs. And then if you are your own best advocate, that people are like hesitant to bring up their problems. And I was, mostly because as an air traffic controller, if you have any medical issues, they'll down you and you can't control. But once I was like, they will be fine without me, and at the end of the day, I have to take care of myself, especially once I decided that I was gonna separate. And I just started going to medical for everything. And, I was respectful and like would warn my chain of command if I thought that I would be grounded, like not able to control because the doctor told me. But it never happened, surprisingly. And they
Right.
were, every time they were like, okay, do what's best for you. Take care of yourself. Like, that's fine.
And that's what I get so mad at, because I do the same thing with my husband. He's an air crew and he gets told all the time, you're going to get med down. Don't say this is what's going on. You're getting med down. And he has tinnitus. He has back issues because I don't know if you've ever been on a C-130, but it is like rickety,
Mm-hmm.
horrible, not the most comfortable plane. And he comes back home, his back is killing him. He's having issues. And I'm like, go to medical and get it documented. No, no, no. Because then I'm med down. I'm like, is it going to kill them to med down you for a few days until you can get your back checked out? But they're so imprinted in their brain that don't go to medical, don't go to medical. Because the truth is, if you don't go to medical, you don't get these benefits. But if you go to medical, get down for a few days or weeks, however long it takes, then get re-upped, you have that documented. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing too is you want to make sure you keep copies of all your medical records. And I'll tell you why. I love my corpsmen. I love you guys. There's nothing against you guys, but documentation is not their strong suit. I've had shot records missing. I've had notes that are missing. My surgery for my foot was put into a different area, and how I was able to track it down. I don't know if you remember AE1 Freehofer. He actually
Mm-mm.
lives up the road from me, but he's retiring from being a chief. And he is the one who showed me how to find my medical records, because I'm going, this is all I have. And he goes, no, 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 you need to go on Tricare's website and access your records. And that's
Yeah.
how I was able to find everything. And I'm like, who's in charge of my medical records? Why is this over here? Why is that? Wow, this is all kinds of messed up. So if you can, go on TRICARE and pull your medical records, or go to your medical branch, get a copy of it and look through and see what are you missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still working on my VA claim. I have my first appointment next week. And my medical record is like this thick. And like, I never had surgery or any crazy problems, just, from my annual checkups and stuff. And I had to sort through it by hand and find all of my treatment for everything I wanted to claim and scan it and upload it to the VA. Like, that no one is going to help you unless you beg them.
Yeah, unless you have someone who can sit down and help you. That's why I'm helping my neighbor. He's a Army vet, and he developed an allergy to latex and all this stuff in the Army, and he's having to battle the VA to get benefits because they've rejected him like 3 times. So I'm going to be helping him go through all his medical records and see exactly where it was done, what happened. This is the result, and it's because either we don't have enough people to help, or no one just wants to help in general, and the VA needs to work on that. That's their fault. They need to put us first and stop hiring civilians who are just there to be for a paycheck, because that's half of them. You have actual veterans that work at the VA, or you have civilians that are just like, okay, why are you here? All right, well, this is all I can do. What do you need? How can I help you? Let's get you there.
Yeah. It's hard to find people who care. I use this company called DAV, Disabled American Vets. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
I think it's a volunteer organization, but they open up in I'm not sure what the office is. It's like a veterans club that I'm not familiar with, but they let the DAV use it every Wednesday morning. And you can go, and it's like people in their 80s helping you, but they're very knowledgeable on it, and it's pretty entertaining. I went in there in uniform. I was trying to do my benefits delivery at discharge, and the timing didn't work out. But they had really cool people with some old stories, and it was a lot of fun. But anyway, they will like go through your record with you if you want. You can bring the whole stack in. So I did my initial claim just to at least get the ball rolling. And then if once I hear back from that, I plan on taking my 10-pound medical record over to them and being like, all right, and they will be like, they asked me all kinds of random questions before they haven't even seen my record. Like, on deployment, I went to Dubai. We hit port in Dubai for a visit, and she said that I automatically qualify for burn pit like compensation because Dubai used burn pits. So even though I wasn't stationed there, I still was sent there by the military for like 5 days, so I can get compensation for being exposed to burn pits, even though I didn't even know it.
And that's the stuff that they don't realize is like Agent Orange,
Yep.
the previous veterans, like my husband's father, he was exposed to that, and he's having to realize like all his body and everything that he went through, his disability, got everything, but now trying to get scheduled for treatment is like the biggest issue. And it's something that I've seen for a lot of people, is because there's either not enough providers, or they're not offering the Veterans Choice Program, because I don't think the VA, either they don't have contracts with enough people, or they just at the moment don't have enough funding to send them. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. And that's why with my degree, I kind of look to see where is our budget? Why is this going on like this? The only good thing about it is each year we get our COLA benefits increased. Like this past year, it was like an 8% increase, which was great because of inflation. They're trying to keep it in line with Social Security benefits. But if you guys, any type of disability that you can get, keep fighting, keep pushing for it, because they'll try to take it away from you because they want to try to save money. As much as I hate saying that, they'd rather save money than try to help us, which is wrong. They should provide more services. They should be more bedside manner, and not you're just another person coming in faking. And it's
Right.
not.
They're not going to willingly. They're not going to willingly like just hand you compensation. You got to work for it, and at the end of the day, it's a business. So.
And it stinks for those veterans, because there are people who have that are introverts, and they're not good at asking for help. So they need to provide some way to make it more accepting and more welcoming, so that way they don't feel as scared asking for help.
Yeah. I was definitely one of those people, and I was talking to. So we have 10 civilian controllers that worked with us, and one of them I was pretty close to, and he's a retired chief. I think he retired in like 2006, but he was asking me how my disability claim was going, and I told him, I was like, I don't know, I don't feel like I have that much to claim. And he was like, look at, I'm not going to say the kid's name, but we had this airman that came to our command, and he probably spent 4 to 6 months with us before he got medically retired. And he hadn't even been in the Navy for maybe over a year. He never hit 2 years. And, but it come to find out that he would like tell other airmen that worked with us. And of course, it would come back to me and other people that he had severe like mental health issues before he joined. And the recruiter just like ignored that and
So
let
they
him
just made
join
them
still.
feel.
Yeah. And he had, I don't think he ever attempted suicide, but he had suicidal ideations and had like a mental breakdown, and was just completely like, I don't know what's going on in the kid's head, but he was not a pleasant person to work with, and he was not a good sailor by any means. And then the fact that he was able to get out and get 100% disability and medically retired, um, that retiree just told me like, if someone like him who did a year and a half of service can get out with 100% disability and get a retirement, then you deserve something after 10 years too, even if it is something small. Just, it can't hurt to claim it. And that kind of changed my mindset. It was like, this is a benefit of being in the military, is that everything that happens to you while you're in, you get compensated for. You just have to ask for it.
And like with my situation, I really didn't have a choice versus civilian area. If they said, "Oh, you need a surgery," I'll wait. But in the military, it's like this is a direct order. You have to get it done. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, because I've tried telling them, can I not do it? Can I wait till I get to my next command? And they were very persistent of you need to get this done.
Yeah, they can
And
put you on hold until you get it done.
I was frustrated, but I went through it and then ended up more issues. And when I got out, come to find out, when I read my medical records, um, the screw they put in my foot the second time, they stripped it. So I can't even get that screw removed. When I had my second surgery by a civilian doctor, he tried his hardest to use the same tool that they put the screw in. That he said, if I try to take that screw out, I would have to break your foot completely. And I was
Wow.
like, so I'm stuck with a broken screw for the rest of my life. I can't even get it out. And if I do, I risk having even more issues.
Yeah.
So, and I get a lot of flack from a lot of people who are like, oh, glad my tax dollars went to you getting retired. Glad that this and this. And my mom would just, because I take it to heart. And it's like, I've tried my hardest to serve my country. I've
Mm-hmm.
tried to make it better. I've helped develop a standard operating procedure for pass and tag because we had nothing to fall back on. And we had a um, regional inspection by the rear admiral who came in, and the first thing he asked was, where's your SOP? And I just had it literally off the printer, handed to him. And he goes, oh, very well. Walked away, and we passed our inspection because I had that document made. And I'm like, I may not have been deployed. I may not have gotten to do combat or any stuff that anyone else has done, but I still signed up. I still vowed to take care of my country. It didn't work out the way I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to, but that doesn't make me less of a sailor. I wish I could have done more. And I'm so envious of my husband. And there's been times where we talked about it where he says, you have your bachelor's and your master's. You could go back as an officer and be a limited duty officer. And I said, you know what? I'm actually thinking about that, but I don't know if I can still do my job with my foot and my migraines. I was like, I'd love to, but that also puts us at a disadvantage for our little 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's still in the back of my mind, and I support and try to do my way by helping other veterans, and that makes me
Yeah.
feel like I'm still contributing.
Yeah, I haven't had many people comment on like me leaving the military yet, but if if I was standing next to you and someone said that to you, I'd be like, she raised her right hand, did you? Okay, go away. Like, that is deserving enough. Like, most people don't realize that, like, you literally sell your soul to the government for however many years you join. Like, you become government property, and I don't know, just screw them. Who cares what they think?
Like I laugh and I tell them like, you're so much government property. If you get a sunburn, you're damaging government property. That's how like serious they are about this. If you
Yeah.
do something, if you hurt your liver, you're damaging government property, even though drinking is the national anthem of the Navy. But
Oh my God. I remember I don't know if you were on the trip. I went with my roommates in A school to Pensacola Beach, and I got destroyed by the sun. And I was so scared because, you're
yes,
this
I
little
think
A schooler.
we were with Hellich Chapel and I think someone else, and I think it was ABE or ABF one so cool. And he was like, "You okay there, sailor?" And you're like, "Yep, I'm fine."
Yeah. I was so red, and like, everyone tells you like, oh, sunburn damage government property, you can go to captain's mast for it. And I was so scared coming back. I had like other people's clothes on, but I couldn't hide my face. And yeah, everything worked out okay, but I was terrified to walk back in the barracks.
A lot of good story with barracks, like how many like drunk girls came back to Delta, the weird things happening, the room inspections. That's why I always chose to be a yeoman at nighttime, because they can't inspect your rooms during the day because you work the
Yeah.
nights, so they can't disturb you. So that was my go-to. But seeing like some of those
Oh,
the girls had in the rooms was ridiculous.
was it you that got sick and you were like throwing up blood? I think it because you
Um,
had a roommate. I don't remember if it was you or not. I was on watch in the
yeah,
barracks, and this
it was
girl.
because Super Bowl, I think 48, Denver versus Seattle, and we were losing really bad, and I think I ended up getting a little too wasted
Oh, nice.
and ended up at NHP. And when I woke up, the corpsman was like, "Let me guess, were you a Denver fan?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll take care of you. Don't worry, it's okay."
I remember I don't remember what watch I was standing, but I was on the quarterdeck, and your roommate came running down the stairs, and she tripped and she face planted onto the quarterdeck and like slid across. And then she got up and was all disheveled and like, "Help, my roommate's throwing up blood." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's at the time Martinez's roommate. I need to go check on her." So we're
Blood.
running
It
up.
was alcohol. That's what it
Yeah.
looked like blood, but it was alcohol. I think she was just a little too over exaggerant, because I told him, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm fine. I just need some water. But they had to take me to NHP, which was interesting. I was like, I'm fine. I'm just had too much to drink because it was a bad game. And we had those Bud Light towers, and people kept just buying me shots of tequila, shots of vodka.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, it was bad,
Yeah,
bad,
I
bad.
was like 8. Yeah, I was 18 at the time, and I didn't drink until I was 21, and like for real didn't drink till I was 21. So seeing you, I had no clue you were drunk, so that's actually really funny to hear that.
Of like drunken stories, just like there was a girl at Delta Barracks. I was working one night, and she came in with some random dude, and he comes up to me and he goes, "I think she belongs to your barracks. I found her military ID. I don't know who she is, but she was left drunk at Civils by herself." And I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
my God.
snapples." We found out her Liberty buddies left her there at Civils and came back without her. And we're like, and one of the uh, Chiefs was there, and he was like trying to wake her up, and she started like cursing at him, like, "Stop effing with me. I'm trying to sleep." And he's like, "You better wake your ass up right now." And she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, where am I?" He's like, "You're back at the barracks. You're lucky this guy brought you back because we would have lost you."
Yeah,
And that's why everybody
people
was
were
like
so
very
stupid.
stuck on phases, and they were like, "All right, everybody on this who's friends with her and was her Liberty buddy, you're on phase one." And that's another thing. For those who volunteer, and who join the military, no matter how old you are, you have a curfew. That was one thing that
Mhm.
I really did not like, but I learned to get over it and phase up so that way I couldn't have a curfew anymore. But that was
Mhm.
the hardest thing, is waiting to be told, yeah, you can go out. Because I felt like a little kid going, can I go outside, Mom? Can I go outside? And it's like, nope,
So
you got to wait
you
for Liberty Call.
you were a little older when you joined, right?
I was 23.
Okay. So yeah, you already had a couple
23.
years of like being on your own. So I was 18. I was like, okay, this is fine. Just like being at home again.
It was difficult, especially like you said, being independent, doing things whenever you wanted to, and then having the military like, hey, you can't go anywhere until we say so. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I don't remember her name. I'm friends with her on Facebook. She was our yeoman in boot camp, and she was like 30, 32 in boot camp.
Oh,
And
it was
I
Braswell.
100, yeah, Emily.
Yeah.
And I 100% understand why she was so angry every day now that I'm older. And if I were to be, I'm 28 now, and if I were to be 28 going into boot camp, I would just be pissed off every day. So I feel so bad for like how mean we were to her and how we thought she was so like unreasonably mad at us all the time. But I
Oh,
get
I
it
know,
now.
because we understand the struggle. And I will say, speaking of boot camp, a quick shout to Miss Katie Fine. She's in our
Oh
thoughts and
yeah.
prayers. She was in our boot camp, and sweet girl. She was out. She was a police officer, and she passed away while she was doing a routine stop. And sweetest person you could ever meet. And what she went through in boot camp, she was doing her training with boot camp, and she found out her dad passed away, and she still found the courage to come back and finish her boot camp and graduate.
Hmm.
And we still miss her. I think about her from time to time, and how bubbly, how fun she was. And
Hmm.
it's sad that she got taken away from us. And I know that that was one of the big things that hit me hard, was when she was gone. I was like, wow. When you realize you go through something, just like with you, we've been through boot camp, age school, and I still get the pictures like when you were leaving to go to your duty station,
Yeah.
and I'm reviewing your dress booth, you're like,
I
and,
did it.
and I don't know if you remember when I went to like Sam's Club and brought like a rotisserie chicken back to the barracks, and you're like, Martinez is cooking in the barracks.
Yeah.
And it's those memories, and they don't realize that when you are in the military and you go through all these with these people, they're your family. They may not be blood related, but they are your family. And
Hmm.
that's the best camaraderie. It's better than any sorority, fraternity, clubs, military family. No matter where you go, you'll end up somehow finding each other. And that's the greatest thing I could ever do. Here, my friend from high school, he got stationed all over. And then when he got out of the military, he was here in Jacksonville. We moved down here. I'm like, hey, look, we met up again. Isn't that weird? We both ended up in Jacksonville. Same thing
Yeah.
with AE1 Freehofer. We didn't realize that he was, well, now Chief Freehofer. I thought he lived a little bit further away. And my husband's like, no, Bobby lives right here. And I'm like, what? Well, that's kind of weird. Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of the passing of a guy I was on the ship with, and he was, I think, even though he was younger than me, he was like a big brother. And when he passed away, his son was 2,
Oh,
and so that was really sad. And I remember I had talked to him a few weeks prior, and he was talking about proposing to his girlfriend, and
oh.
um, that was just really tragic, and that was hard. But my chain of command actually approved me to take emergency leave. No, they approved special liberty for me to go to his funeral, which was really awesome because it was in Long Island, New York. So that's like a 5-hour drive from where I was stationed.
Well, at least they let you. There's sometimes where commands just don't let you, which
Hmm.
I think is wrong. This friend of mine, we don't talk anymore, but she was doing training down here in Jacksonville. Her mom passed away, and they sent a Red Cross message to her. And her command said because she's in training, they would not let her go. So she didn't even get to say goodbye to her mom. And that's stuff that people don't realize, that that's the mental drain and issues that develop for so many veterans and sailors and just service members. When we don't get to do stuff or get to say goodbye to people, it affects our mental health. And even like when you have injuries, like I really strongly encourage people that if you feel like you're stuck or trapped and can't figure anything out, try to go see mental. It may not seem harassed by my command because I was broken and they kept asking me, when are you going to learn to walk normal, Martinez? When are you going to learn to walk normal? And I finally had enough of it and went to mental, and that's when they moved me from one department to pass and tag, and had a different supervisor who was awesome. Everyone else was so welcoming, so great. And sometimes that's all you need, is to go talk to someone and have them remove you from that toxic environment to where you can actually do better. You don't have to settle for where you are. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are afraid to do that. And sometimes leadership will try to either help you with it or talk you out of it.
Mm-hmm. I think like a lesson I learned very quickly, I was a terror as an airman and a third class because I would just see my leaders like doing things that were blatantly wrong. And like, I don't care what rank you are. If someone is doing something completely wrong, and I mean by like on a moral standpoint, or if you're being treated poorly, it doesn't matter what rank you are. You as a human have the ability to step up for yourself and stand up to them. And like, I think people think that like rank supersedes everything when you're, especially on a ship. It doesn't. You are still a human and you deserve respect. And if someone is telling you to do something that's stupid or doesn't make sense, you can respectfully like change the path that they're pushing you in. And, you know, a lot of leaders would get mad at me because I would push back to them, but like their ideas sucked. So, or like they
I
would tell me to do something that was just straight up wrong, like not a good thing to tell someone to do. And I would tell them no. And they'd be like, I outrank you. You have to do it. And I was like, I'm not, no, that's not okay. And what you're doing isn't okay. And I'll go
Did you
talk to
ever get
someone
a
else if,
counseling kit for it?
yeah.
Because that's what I kept getting. Because I'd have a first class who just was not doing what he was supposed to, and I got tired of it. And I finally called him out on it, and he goes, "You can't talk to me that way." And I said, "Well, you're not doing your job. You're prolonging our third class who needs to pick up their child from daycare, and I'm done with my shift. It's your turn to take over now. You're busy chit chatting with the civilians. We need to swap shifts now." And he's like, "How dare you talk to me that way? I'm a first class blah blah." And I'm like, with all due respect, you're not. You're doing horrible, and I just want to go home now.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote me a counseling chit and had my second class stand there, and she just shook her head like, "This is so dumb that he's making you do this." And I said, "Oh well, I'll sign it." And my chief at the time called me and she goes, "Did he really write you up for this?" I was like, "Yep." And she goes, "I don't know what his issue is." And she literally crumbled up that counseling chit and threw it away. And I'm just like, because it's such a power trip for them. They think because
Yeah.
I'm a first class, I'm a chief, you've got to listen to me.
No, some of the best after my first like 2 years. So my first year on the ship, I had pretty bad leadership, but after that, we got a new division officer and it all turned around. But the best leaders I've had would like ask me to check them. And I was a second class. We didn't have a first class or a chief. So I was working directly with our lieutenant, our division officer. And like he would ask us, you know, people that he trusted to check him on his decisions. And then when I came to my next duty station, our master chief would pull me into his office when I was an LPO and he'd be like, "How do you think I'm doing? Like, be honest. You're not going to hurt my feelings. What can I do better?" And then I was able to be a chief with him. And at my checkout meeting, he asked me, like, be honest. What do we do right? Are we headed in the right direction? And I could tell him, like, this is what you need to work on. And he'd be like, okay, thanks. And that was it. Like, you can have a respectful open communication and dialogue with someone much higher ranking than you. He was an E9 and I was a first class to a chief, and I could straight up tell him, you aren't doing a good job at this, but I wouldn't say it that way. You know, I'd say I need more mentorship, or, you know, just,
No, and it
you don't have
does
to call
help doing
someone
those.
out.
It's good doing those exit interviews with the master chief. When you're getting out,
Mm-hmm.
do those exit interviews. You want to do those because they
Mm-hmm.
need to be made aware. Whether they do something about it or not, it's better to just get it off your chest instead of saying, oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said that. Because that's what I made sure. We had a new master chief because our other one, Master Chief Grosso, retired. So we had a new master chief, and she was hardcore. This new one, like, I'm by the book. Tell me what is going on. That what I went and told her exactly what had happened to me, how I was treated. She literally, instead of most master chiefs or chiefs, they would just sit there like, okay, okay. She sat there with her pen and paper, and she's like, okay, thank you. I need to know this is what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in the command so we can make it better. So that way other sailors that check in don't get treated the way you do. And
Yeah.
they need that because you may have someone who actually wants to fix things. And the biggest one that I will say is uh, the rank. And if you're female, male or female, whether it's a first class, a chief, or an officer, and they're male or female hitting on you or trying to do sexual advances on you, report it. Just automatically, if you have the proof, if you have the documentation, give it to your leadership because they need to know what's going on. We had that issue at our command. A NC1 was soliciting and sending pictures to all the new check-ins, including myself. I showed it to Chief Wells at the time, and he said, you need to show this to your chief. I showed it to my chief. He said, all right, I'll take care of it. Nothing was done. Finally, one of the new check-ins who was pregnant, she took it straight to our captain, and he
Good
automatically
for her.
brought down the hammer and brought in me, other girls who were affected by it, because he grilled everybody and said, who else was affected by this? I want names and I want them in my office now. So we were brought in, we were asked questions, and that NC1 was dropped all the way down. He was supposed to become a chief, and he got dropped to, I think, an E2 or E3. And
Wow.
it's stuff
Good.
like that where I get so mad because I gave information, nothing was done. But it took someone to bypass rank to go up to put it to our CO's lap and was like, here, look what's going on. What are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm. I made it known when I got to shore duty that it wasn't really an issue. Everyone just minded their own business. But on the ship, like the second you go out to sea, the wedding rings come off and it is disgusting. And people knew that if you were a married man and you tried to look at me the wrong way, I would find out who your wife was and I would contact them and send them screenshots. Like, I did not mess around with that. I thought it was the most disgusting thing you could do the second you leave. And, like, especially when you have a spouse at home with the kids and you're going to come on deployment and disrespect them like that, that is, don't get me started. But people knew that I would contact their spouse and ruin their life, because if I was that spouse, I would want to know, even if it would ruin my life.
And that's and it's not just on the boat, it's also like with my husband when he would go on his other stuff. The group, you're supposed to look out for each other as a team, but they
Mm-hmm.
would take them to places where they shouldn't be, and I would get infuriated by that. And I'm like, why are they taking you to these places? Like, one time they ended up in a brothel on accident, and I'm like, you should not be there. Another one, they went to Thailand and they wanted to try to get them happy ending massages, but it didn't happen. And I'm like, what is up with your group? Are they trying to get you like divorced? Like, what's the deal? And they're like, no, they're just trying. I'm like, no. I'm like, you need to hang around people in your group who are not going to get you in trouble. And that's where
Yeah.
at detachment and deployment, they use the thinking of, oh, well, they're not here. They're not going to know. When in reality, men or women, we're detectives. We're going to find out. We have friends who can be friends with people on Facebook who can see where you've been, what you've been doing. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a friend of mine that I laugh so hard because she is literally like the detective of everything. She will find your Facebook, she will find your Instagram, and she found one of her friends, her husband was cheating on her while he was deployed. And because there was a girl that wasn't supposed to be there that went on the deployment. And it cracked me up because she was like, "You want to find out?" And my friend's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Okay, look, she's on deployment with him. Oh, look, they're hanging out over here. Oh, look, here's this." And she's like, "Oh." And it's like, you can't think that just because you're overseas, no one's going to find out. So just do
Yeah.
yourself a favor, be good, come home. And if you're not happy, then call it quits.
Yeah. Or like get divorced before you go on deployment. I don't know. It's just, why are you married? What's the point? For the paycheck? Like, grow up.
Most of them,
But
it's paycheck, benefits. Sometimes it's just like disability. People do it for the wrong reasons, and then
yeah.
people do it for the right reasons. It just depends on
Yep.
their morals. And or like that Netflix movie about, I think it was called Purple Hearts or something, where the girl falls in love with the guy, and it's like, no, that's not how that happens. No.
Switching gears a little, you kind of touched on it already, but especially because this is like a female centric show, did you experience any like significant either advantages or like setbacks being a woman in the military?
The setbacks, well, being in there versus out, was the other female, like supervisors. Like I remember AWF one Fruge, she was hard on the females. Like she was not very nice. And I noticed that a lot of like, I guess, upper ranking females, they're very harder on the younger females. And it's because one, they know that they're young, they're naive, they want them to do good, they want them to advance, but they also want them to be cautious. But they also see that, I don't know if it was jealousy or pity or what the heck it was, but they were very, very hard compared to the male part where they were flirty with you, they joke around, they'd help you, they would be want to be buddies with you. And I found that kind of hard because I wanted to be more friends with the female supervisors or the like chiefs, first classes, and you would be friends with them, but all of a sudden they flip and go, "You need to address me as MA3 or Chief so and so." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I apologize, Chief. I'll make sure to work on that." And I think that was the hard part, was you would become close with them, and then all of a sudden they would flip it as, "You need to address me by this rank." And it's like, okay, okay. But
Yeah.
it did help out because when I got out into civilian world, my work ethic was 100%. I was adaptable because in the military, you're just kind of thrown into it and you have to figure out how to do it. And that helped me when I got into civilian to be able to, they said, "Hey, we need this done." All right, cool, no problem. Get it done.
Yeah. I've experienced the same. Like female leaders are typically like they'll be friends with you or friendly to you behind closed doors, but then the second that like work needs to get done, they can flip a switch and be like, "Nope, I'm chief. I don't know what you're talking about. Go work. Do better."
And that's the hard part, is like, if you're going to be, I think it has to be just like in the civilian world, you're either a boss or you're a friend. You can't be both. It's really
hmm
difficult because then you can't separate when you're being serious versus just joking around.
Yeah.
And that's why they teach us in the master's program, if you're going to be a boss, you need to be one that leads by example, promotes a positive environment, and also get your goals done. Because if you try to joke around, if you try to be buddies, they're not going to work hard for you. And you don't want that. You want them to respect you, but you also want to depend on them to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I had my last division officer in the Navy was horrible to work with because he was very like buddy buddy with I don't think he picked favorites. He was good at being fair and like recognizing when he was having like a joking conversation versus business, and he wasn't afraid to like crack the hammer on people that he was friends with outside of work, but he would let like his sports talk and whatever stupid conversations he'd want to have infiltrate like the work center, and he would just come up to the goat locker, like the office that we worked in, and just like try to talk crap all day. And then he would be distracting and then like be mad at me when my work wasn't done the way he wanted. And I'm like, you had all morning to bring this up to me, but now that it's 3 o'clock, you know the time that I leave, you want to bring this up and get mad at me. Like, no, rewind to when you were talking about Taco Bell for 4 hours, and then you could have asked me to make these corrections then. Like, towards the end of my time there, I just started leaving and I wouldn't even acknowledge his presence because it was just like the whole leading by example. And I think that person has a lot to learn.
They do. And that's where you learn, even no matter where you're going to work, you're going to have good leaders and bad leaders. Even in the civilian section, I've had horrible supervisors where they needed to be a manager. They needed to take control. And I depended on them to do what they were supposed to do, and they didn't. So I end up having to leave because I'm going, this is not a good work environment for me. Mm-hmm. Nobody's working as a team, and they're shifting blame on someone random when it should be, you know, a joint team effort. And I've told them, like, look, I'm in the military, it was one team, one fight. It wasn't your shit bag, you're not doing your job. It's, hey, what's going on? Why are we not doing good? And mm-hmm. That's where I try to tell everybody too, when you apply for jobs, look to see how the environment is. When you go in for an interview, are they friendly? Is it a good environment? Is the manager open? Do they seem like it's a good fit? Because if you get that weird feeling like, I don't know if I should take it, but I really need the money, don't settle.
Yep.
You want to find somewhere that you fit good. There's always going to be different jobs everywhere, but if you just take the first one that's handed to you, you're probably not going to do well because the environment is not a good environment for you.
Yep. There are plenty of jobs to go around. I think people don't realize that, especially for veterans. Like, it doesn't matter what your job was. People want you because you're a veteran.
Yes, and make sure to put on your applications that you are a veteran, because they do veterans preference where they go and will look at you for it. And that's what you want to be able to do, and you can incorporate that. And when they tell you on like applications, they say, oh, well, you need X amount of experience. And you go, well, I don't. You do. Use any type of experience, your military, your schooling. If you go to school for 4 years and that's all you have, that counts as your experience because you're training during that time. Because I always thought, well, I was in school, I guess I don't have the experience. No. During my 4 years of my bachelor's program, I got the training, I've got the education. That counts towards what I do.
Yeah. And I think people forget, like we were thinking about moving, so I was going to try to apply for a remote job so that I had a little bit more stability if we were moving. Now we're not, so I'm just freelancing. But when I was doing job applications, I went back through every single job I've done in the Navy. So my main job was an air traffic controller, but you have collateral duties. I've been a sexual assault victim advocate. I've been a training manager. I've written schedules, and like just being an LPO and writing a schedule during the pandemic, like that is huge. I know how to organize multiple people's calendars. I know how to manage 85 people and their working schedule, and I know how to like brief a crew, and these are all like military terms, but translate it into the way whatever organization you're applying for. Like, I know how to counsel people because I've been a sexual assault victim advocate. Like, beyond if I don't want to do air traffic control, I have experience in a lot of things. I got an interview for an executive assistant at this new, I forget what company it was. I ended up not doing the interview because we decided not to move. But yeah, even if you were like the muster PO and you took accountability for everyone that day and sent off a muster report, like you probably used Microsoft. Cool. You have the whole Microsoft suite like experience, and then computer skills and whatever random stuff, like everything counts. And I don't think people realize that sometimes.
Even writing your evaluation, it counts. Your performance management right there. And that's why, like, I don't know if you've seen Well, you've done the evaluations, right? Because my husband showed me how the evaluations are compared to how we had them done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what in the world are they having you do now? He goes, I don't know. This is weird. This is different. And I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to do that.
Yeah. But it's all, yeah, they're all translatable skills, even if you don't see it now. They are later. You just got to think a little hard about it.
And and don't be afraid to ask for someone to look at your resume and how to be able to translate it to civilian side. A lot of
Yeah.
universities provide a writing workshop where you can go in and they'll teach you how to properly write a resume, how
Mm-hmm.
to do grammar checks. If you can download the application Grammarly, that'll be your
Mm-hmm.
best friend. It corrects everything for you and you can set it to be professional, academic, however you want. And even having that with your emails and anything documentation related, it saves you. It makes you
Yep.
sound like you're an Oxford student the way that it corrects it for you.
Yep. And I know the Navy's program is Fleet and Family Support Center. I don't know what it is for the other branches, but they had a transition assistance like program manager, and she would do resume reviews. And I brought two resumes to her because one was if I wanted to apply for an air traffic control job, and the other was like social media, I think. And she would review both, and they both looked completely different because one is air traffic control translates military to civilian like seamlessly, so you don't really have to reword it. But for social media, like I had to really think outside the box to make it sound like trendy but still professional. And she did such a good job at being like, yeah, your air traffic control one, good. Let's not even talk about it. You know what you're doing there. But for social media, she was like, why not change the background color and like add a picture of yourself and make it look pretty because that's the job you're applying for. And so it was really cool that that was extremely helpful. And she would like she wrote notes like on the paper for me to take back, and then if I wanted to, it was unlimited visits, I could come back as much as she wanted. She would do like mock interviews with you if you wanted, and it was really helpful.
No, and these are all the type of programs that they try to tell you. We had it in they call it now like transition readiness programs where they do that, where we had a TAPS class for
Yeah.
us where we just did like a mock interview, how to do our resumes. It was all one class. And then but it was a week long class versus
Yeah.
now I think they do it as you're getting ready to get out, you're doing it continuously, which is great because it gets you guys prepared to transition from do this to now you have the freedom. You can do what you want to do now.
Hmm. My TAPS class, I did it 18 months out and it was a week long, but they assign tiers to you based on like basically how ready the career counselor thought you were to get out. So, um, I think there were three tiers, and tier one is like, okay, you pretty much have your life together. You don't need help on like interviews because you have stuff lined up. And then, tier three is like, you have no clue what you're doing. You don't even know what a resume looks like, and you need to stay all 5 days. So, um, I only had to go to 2.5 days, and then some people stayed, and it was 2 straight days of mock job interviews, which was, I thought, really cool for the people that needed it. Okay, so for my last question, what advice would you give to a woman that is joining the military?
Make sure you get the job that you want. Do not settle for whatever they have. If they don't have the job that you want, you always have the ability to go back later and try again. Because the biggest goal right now is you are a number to the recruiter, that you are just another percentage. If they can hit their percentage for the month, they're good. But if there's a specific job in mind you want, whether you're corpsman or you want to go SWIC, or if you're in the Air Force and you want to be special forces or a pilot and they don't have that open for you right now, don't settle for whatever you have, because the old saying is pick your rate, pick your fate. And unless you can retake your ASVAB and get a better rating position, They may or may not let you switch over, depending on the enlisted community manager. I had that
Yeah.
issue when I was trying to go corpsman from aviation to seaside. The aviation enlisted manager would not let me go because the demands were on the aviation side. So if there's a job that you want, make sure you get it and you get it in writing. And don't be intimidated. Go in 100%. If there's something you don't agree with, say something. Don't settle, and always try to be a good mentor to others. If you see a sailor or an airman or a Marine struggling, don't be afraid to help them out. A lot of people get scared and like, oh, if I say something, I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, if I do something, I'm going to get in trouble. Even if you get a counseling shit, it's not going to be the end of the world. You did what you were supposed to, because when it comes to military, you need to have moral and ethics. That is the biggest thing. And that's what a lot of people forget is, yeah, we have honor, courage, and commitment, but a lot of people forget that honor. They need to re-implement trust and transparency. That's the biggest one, is being transparent with each other. If there's something you don't agree with, either say something and try to do something to change it, or remove yourself from that situation so that way you're not involved in it. Sometimes we get too caught up in it that we're like, I don't know what to do, and you end up getting in trouble. If it becomes to a point where it's not in your control and there's nothing you can do about it, remove yourself and go on about your day.
Yep. And to add on to your statement about the recruiters, do not fall for the trap that you can sign up as something now and then change your job once you get in, because the military is way too understaffed and no one is going to let you switch once you're in. And I know that to be fact.
It is 100% true. I've seen a lot of people who are like, oh, they told me that when I can go. The only person who really got lucky, and I don't know if you're going to interview her, but Miss Dorich, she, remember in school, or in actually boot camp, we found out she had orders to Hawaii because she was getting rated as an AO. I was like, what is that? That is one of the luckiest draws you will ever get. That is the only lucky situation I've ever seen. Otherwise, if you get, let's say you become an ABH and you're like, they tell you, oh yeah, you can become an AO once you get through training. No, you want to be able to pick what you want. Do not settle. This is the next 4 years of your life. Choose something that you're interested in, that you're going to enjoy, and that you know you're going to do. Because if you just settle, you're going to be miserable for the next 4 years.
Yep. The military is a business. It's severely understaffed, and they'll do anything they can to get you in the door.
And they'll do anything to keep you. They'll try to, their admission and retention rates, that's what they're looking at. How many people can they keep? How many people can they get signed up? Don't be a statistic. Be that one that stands out.
They need you more than you need them, for sure. Cool. Well, thank you for hopping on. Is there anything final you want to share? Any resources or anything?
If you guys ever need anything with VA disability, go to your local, you can go to your tax office. Sometimes they'll have VA advocates over there. VFW locations, Veterans for Wars, they'll usually have people who assist with disability issues over there and help you be able to file it. There's also online, if you guys need help, you can look me up on social media, Dulcie 09 or Dulcie Burrow on Facebook. I'll try to open it up. I have it kind of hidden right now. But if anyone needs help or has questions on how to do stuff, you guys can contact me. Or Kristen can give you guys my email if you guys have any issues. And
we'll put it in the notes.
And go on eBenefits. eBenefits, take a look at that website, look at what you're entitled to. Chapter 31, if you're getting out and you want to use the VOC rehab and use that before you use your post 9/11, any type of military resource, look on there and make sure you have all your medical records. Make sure you have it ready to go. And that way the steps to upload everything, because Kristen's done it, I've done it, it's a pain in the butt to get everything uploaded into the system. But once it's there, it's solid. They cannot deny it because it's written on paper.
Yep. Preach, sister. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, and I miss you, girly, and congrats, you're free!
Freedom! Thank you.